All right. Good evening, all of you. Good evening and welcome back to the class. Yes, Pranav, you can keep guessing, beta. Yes. So, good evening, Ankita. Good evening, Prashant. A lot of messages. All right. So, yeah. So, we'll discuss this today. We'll most likely answer this thing today, right? The answer will be slightly different from the what it is written over here. Hi, Sana. Sana, we feel this is even less. You are asking us to reduce. All right. Chalo, let's start then. Namaste, Gaurav. So I know there are many people here who are preparing for their major test, who might have missed the classes. I'm just hopeful that they have prepared their previous classes and come to the class today, right? Dhanush, it will get disturbed. That depends upon what type of internet you have. I think broadband won't get affected. Wireless will get affected. All right. Nothing, Anushri, nothing. Okay, Anushri, say, अच्छा, you're Rajasthani, yeah? Good, good. Message to, if you want instant replies, message to co-host Ashutosh sir. If there is anything which you strongly want me to answer, you can message to host, that is me, right? Yes, Bhuvan, Pranam. Right, so yes. The only sad part about these online classes is everything is fine. You are comfortably sitting there at your home attending the classes. We are comfortably, most likely, we are comfortably here and teaching you guys. The only problem is we can't see you. You can see us, most of you, but we can't see you. Hey, I didn't get that, Jagdish. I didn't get the point only, Jagdish. You are saying something which is going above my head like bouncers. No, Pranav. Good evening, Himavant. That anyways will not be useful for me, KV, Chetan. Chalo, let's start then. We are very used to see your lovely faces, no? That's the reason I personally don't feel very good at teaching like this. But how many I'll see, Pratish? Tell me this thing. My display is this, and the number of people are that many. So if I try to see everyone, itna itna dikhega, itna. This small. That is equivalent to not even seeing it. All right, so let's start, guys. Yeah. So yesterday we had discussed. All right, got it, Jagdish. Right. So last class we had discussed about what we had discussed last class. You only tell. I forgot. I have a short-term memory. So what we had discussed last class? What was the last topic we had discussed? What was the last topic we had discussed? Yes, we were discussing about non-ideal solutions, positive deviation, and negative deviation. So today we will study one more property about these non-ideal solution. And if you recall, let me show you the previous classes. Last class basically, we had seen there is a positive deviation from Rod's law. In ideal solutions are the ones which obey Rod's law. Ideal solutions are the ones which obey Rod's law. Delta H mixing 0, delta V mixing 0. Delta G mixing was less than 0. We had concluded here. and delta S mixing was greater than 0. And I had told interactions between AA and BB is equals to AB interactions, correct? Then we went to non-ideal solutions where we said the interactions in reactant is not equal to the interaction between reactant and product. Matlab, solute-solute interaction, solvent-solvent interaction is not equal to solute-solvent interaction. Delta H mixing, delta V mixing, both were not equal to 0. They were of two types, positive deviation, negative deviation. Here the interactions among the solute and solvent was less than interaction among solute-solute or solvent-solvent. This is what we had learned, correct? And here interaction between solute-solvent was greater than solute-solute or solvent-solvent, right? Now, delta H mixing was greater than 0, V mixing greater than 0, S mixing greater than 0, G mixing less than 0. Less than 0, less than 0, greater than 0, greater than 0, less than 0. Correct? This is what we have concluded. Now, guys, graphs also we had seen, pressure versus volume, pressure versus composition graph for both the types of solution. Now, we are going towards examples I had given you. I told you to check each of the every example. Okay? Now, we solved some problems. Now, we are starting with basically another important property about these non-ideal solutions. What is that property? So we are learning today about azeotropic mixture, right? What is azeotropic mixture? Before I go ahead with azeotropic mixture, let me explain you something. Let me explain you via experiment, right? All of you, please pay attention and listen to what I'm trying to say carefully if you can, if you have the patience. Right. So guys, I have a line here. I have a beaker here. Correct? Oh, my beaker is slightly tilted. Right. I don't want my beaker to fall. It will still fall. It's look very bad. Yes. Now you can see this is a beaker, right? So what I have done over here is I am filling this beaker with a liquid, right? This liquid has a composition. This is a very important concept. All of you, please pay attention. A and B, both are present in this liquid. This is your liquid phase, correct? I hope you can recall this, right? Now, guys, what happens is this liquid will form vapors. This liquid will form vapors. So when it forms vapors, there is a vapor phase here, right? This is your vapor phase, right? This is your vapor phase, correct? Now, see carefully. Let me give you one data also. It will make your job easier. Let us say P naught of A is 100 atm or mm, whatever you want, you can take. P naught of B is 120 mm. Now, what do you understand by P naught A or P naught B? Yes, can you kindly recall again? What do you understand by P naught A and P naught B, guys? This definition come in boards for 1 mark. This definition can come in your boards for 1 mark. Yes, P naught A is the vapor pressure when A is present alone, that is pure A. P naught B is the pressure of B when B is present alone, that is pure B, correct? I hope it is clear. Now, what else you can conclude by seeing these P naught A and P naught B? What can you conclude by saying these two values? What conclusion can you make out of it? What conclusion can you make out of it? Anyone? Yes, guys. What conclusion can you make out of it? Very good, Muktamni. So you can see here, the pressure of A is less than B. B is exerting more pressure. B is exerting more pressure. What does it indicate? Students, it indicates clearly here that B is more volatile than A. That means B will form vapors easily than A. Correct? I hope this is pretty obvious. If you can understand it, very good. If you can't understand, please post. Right. Now, guys, I'm starting with one thing. Please pay attention. my mole fraction in liquid phase, let's say my mole fraction of A in liquid phase is 0.5, B is also 0.5. I have taken equimolar mixture, so mole fractions are equal. 1 by 2, 1 by 2 moles. So 1 by 2 divided by 1 by 2 plus 1 by 2, you'll get 0.5 only, right? Now my question is, my mole fraction in vapor phase, YA and YB, will it be same or different? Will it be same or different? Anyone? It will be, Sakshi, how it will be same, beta? Sakshi, how it will be same? Very good answer. It will be different, guys. You see here, B is more volatile than A. That means B will go to the vapor phase easily than A. Correct? So B goes to the vapor phase easily than A. Right? So the time in which B ka 2 moles will go into vapor phase, A ka only 1 mole will go. Right? So therefore, B and A will not go into vapor phase with equal velocity or with equal probability. Correct? So I can say that moles rate does not depend only on moles. I'll conclude that. It does not depend upon only moles. It depends upon two things. One is moles. Second is volatility. Acha. Think about this carefully. If I take 2 moles of this is more volatile than this. Correct? So vapors I am forming. So this will go to vapor phase easily, or this will go to vapor phase easily. Obviously this. So in 1 minute, if this goes 2 moles, this will go only 1 mole. So vapor phase will have 2 moles of this, 1 mole of this. So volatility is also important factor here, right? Shashwat, beta, I'm explaining that only. Shashwat, this beta, first of all, this thing I had explained in my last class also, right? And you did not ask in last class. I'll repeat it again. Please pay attention. I have two components. Both of them are present, let's say 2 mole, 2 mole, right? Both of them are present in 2 moles, 2 moles. Let's say B is more volatile. What is the meaning of volatile? It can form vapor easily. So I started boiling these two. 2 moles of this, 2 moles of this. B is more volatile, remember. So when I started boiling them, in 1 minute, how many moles of this went to vapor phase? 2 mole in 1 minute. So in 1 minute, this is more volatile. Its 2 moles are going to the vapor phase. Will its 2 mole will only go? No, it is less volatile. It's only 1 mole will go, not 2 moles will go. Right? If this also 2 moles goes, then both they have same volatility. Correct? But that is not true. We have assumed B is more volatile than A. So B ka 2 moles will go. A ka how many moles will go? 1, because B is more volatile. So now you see in your liquid phase you had 2 moles of A, 2 moles of B, but in your vapor phase you have 2 moles of B but 1 moles of A. So which component is present more in your vapor phase? Which component is present more in your vapor phase? Right? Which component is more in your vapor phase? B. Why B is more? Because B is more volatile. B is more volatile, right? So that means, let me assume my B mole fraction will be greater than 0.5 or less than 0.5. Mole fraction of B in vapor phase will be greater than 0.5 or less than 0.5. It will be greater than 0.5. Let us say it is 0.6. This is 0.4. I hope it is clear. By the way, students, this is also known as, I don't know exact spelling, it is Konovalov's rule. I'll have to verify the spelling. Konovalov's rule says more volatile component goes to the vapor phase faster than non-volatile component, less volatile component. Okay, that is Konovalov's rule. Now, what I was saying is, this is fine. So all of you understand now. Are Prashant, very good beta. Prashant, where were you? Prashant, I feel I should salute you. Seriously. Prashant, you deserve to go to Siachen, Ladakh, all these places. Prashant, what is this, beta? Prashant, can you tell me what is this? Prashant? Now Prashant won't say anything, huh, Prashant? Now Prashant will be like, "Haan, sir." है ना? I know this. So that is why when you come for the class, you should give it a 15-minute revision at least. Or at least, let's say 5 minutes also. It's sufficient. Right? So this is fine. Correct? Now, guys, what I did was, please pay attention. What I did was, I collected this vapor phase. I did my one more beaker. I took my beaker and I collected this beaker mein this vapor phase. This vapor phase I have collected in the beaker and I have condensed it. Correct? So now this vapor phase is collected in this beaker, and here vapor phase was there. After you condense it, then it will become what? Liquid? Yes or no? Anushri, what beta? Anushri, what do you want me to explain? Anushri M. That beaker one. Okay. I am just saying that only. Now wait. So I have taken another beaker. What I did in this beaker, I collected this vapor phase and transferred it into the another beaker. So here it was in vapor phase. When I condense my vapors, what happens when I condense my vapors? If I have vapors, right? Vapors, if I condense them, what will happen? Right? Yes, I am condensing them completely. So your vapor phase will get converted to liquid phase. Correct? Now, my new liquid phase, let's say this is all your liquid phase 1. This is your liquid phase 2, LP2. Correct? Yes, Priyadarshini, you are right. Now, guys, can you tell me what is the composition of this liquid phase? What is the composition of this liquid phase? Arey, Basangoda, this is what we have explained, no, Basangoda. If your B is more volatile, Basangoda, then it will go into vapor phase more than A. Right? That means your B will have more, your vapor phase will have more amount of B than A. Then obviously mole fraction of B in vapor phase will be greater than A. So if it was equal here, 0.5 here, so B should be greater than your YA. So it will become 0.6. It can be 0.7, 0.3 also. It can be 0.8, 0.2 also. I have taken a random number. I am not doing a numerical here. I have not calculated it. I have taken a random number. Okay? Ganesh, I can see that. Right. Now my flow is disturbed by this. See carefully now. Now again, we have to repeat it. So vapor phase, when you condense it, you get a liquid phase 2. Right? In this liquid phase, what is your composition now? In this liquid phase, your composition is now YA is 0.4, YB is 0.6. Correct? That means this vapor phase has become liquid phase here. So this liquid phase composition will be same as the vapor phase composition here. I hope it is clear. Correct? Now guys, what I'm going to do, I am going to again evaporate this. I'll get another vapor phase. Let's say vapor phase 2. Yes or no? Now, if it is 0.6 here, if your liquid phase may B is 0.6, in vapor phase may, let us now name it as Z. Mole fraction of A in vapor phase here is ZA. Mole fraction of B is ZB. So now mole fraction of B in vapor phase will be 0.6 or greater than 0.6. It will be greater than 0.6 because B is more volatile. B will go into the vapor phase more than A. So amount of B in vapor phase will be more than A. So therefore I can say here, your ZB, let's say now is 0.8. I'm taking a random number. It should be greater than 0.6. That's all. Okay? Correct? Hai? Yes, everyone? Now you apply, when you apply this another time, condense this again. Again take this vapor phase in a separate beaker. Again take this vapor phase in a separate beaker. Now your vapor phase has again become a liquid phase, that is liquid phase 3, composition having 0.2, 0.8, correct? If the moles are different also, Shreya, same pattern will be there. Only you have to calculate the mole fraction in that case. It will be more step process. It does not matter. Even if the moles are different, you'll have the same process. Okay? Now, if you take this, then again evaporate it, then again you get a vapor phase 3. Now here, mole fraction of B, let us say is mole fraction of B is, let's say RB, will be greater than 0.8. Let me take greater than 0.8 as 1.0. Then my liquid phase, now A in the vapor phase is how much? 0. Now what do you understand from here? What do you understand from here? What do you understand from here? I don't know about you, but what I understand from here is that the vapor phase has only B, right? It has only B, or in other words, all the B in the liquid phase has gone to vapor phase, and all the A will be present where? In the liquid phase. Is it clear? So now your vapor phase has only B and your liquid phase has only A. Do you understand this? This is very important. This is the very, very important point. Now you have separated your vapor phase and liquid phase. Vapor phase contains only B, liquid phase contains only A. Correct? Gokul, only in last case nahi. Whatever you have started from the started, right? From the starting, everything is conserved, na? Your first vapor is in liquid state, then you are conserving it again and again. So basically what you are doing here, you are doing first this fraction you had taken, again evaporated it, then make another fraction, then again evaporating it. So you are separating the two components by a distillation process, which is called fractional distillation. This process is called what? Fractional distillation. This is a process of fractional distillation, right? How does the vapor phase has only A? Vapor phase does not have A, Ketki. According to my thing, vapor phase has only B. A is 0. But we are taking only, I am not getting your doubt. Ketki, see here. Ketki, the point here is liquid phase. In this case, all your B has gone to vapor phase. So here liquid phase has only A, correct? Now, whatever you are left with, you'll again start the process again. If there was some amount of liquid remaining here, na, first case mein, again you will evaporate, again condense, again evaporate, again condense. So basically this is first cycle. So first cycle mein vapor phase has got B, liquid phase has got A. Then remaining liquid ka again repeat another cycle. Then if there is again remaining liquid, repeat cycle again, repeat cycle again. So after doing it many times, your liquid phase will have only A, that is less volatile component, and your vapor phase will have B, that is more volatile component. So you are doing it in multiple step called multiple fraction. Therefore, this is called fractional distillation, right? Gauri, I'm going to come to that. Just give me a minute. B will be evaporated and then, yes, Pritish. What is the importance? Importance? What are you talking about, Shreya? Importance, your whole petroleum industry is based on this. Your whole petroleum components, CNG, LPG, everything is separated like this only. This is the biggest application you can ever see. Fractional distillation you must have studied, right? During the how does the mole fraction does not change during condensation? Why it will not? Why it will change? I evaporated it. I got some vapors. In this, let's say 2 moles of A is present, 4 moles of B is present. Correct? Then I took this liquid, converted it into liquid. I got 2 moles of A and 4 moles of B in the vapor phase. I condensed it to a liquid. Now your liquid will contain how many moles of A and B? Same, na? 2 moles of A and 4 moles of B. Why will the moles get changed? Condensation ke time pe. Nothing is coming from outside. Nothing is going outside. So why it will change? Right? What if the values of P are, Mohit, I'm going to come to that. Just give me a minute. Liquid phase will always be B in vapor phase. That depend upon the vapor pressure, Gaurish. More to summarize, vapor phase will always have that component which is more volatile. Liquid phase will always have that component which is less volatile, right? So conclusion only I'm saying, Anushri, vapor phase will always have, after 10, 20 times when you repeat the process, all the more volatile component, right? Having less boiling point or more vapor pressure. Volatile component will go to vapor phase. Less volatile component will come to the liquid phase. So you have separated both the components, one in vapor phase, one in liquid phase, after doing 20, 30 times of repetition. Okay? Are Rohit, what are you doing, Rohit? Rohit, this is mole fraction or moles? Rohit, this is mole fraction. This is not moles. Mole fraction will change. Moles will remain same. Total moles will remain conserved. This is mole fraction, Rohit, not moles. All right. So I think we are done here. Let's move ahead. Now, why I discussed all this? Like, why do we need this? Simple, in short. Why do we need this? Why why to do all this drama? Now you have understood fractional distillation, right? I hope the fractional distillation part is clear. In fact, in advance, not in mains, in advance, you get very good questions on this. They will tell you started with this, then you got this, then you got this, find the last case may find the pressure of solution. These kind of question you get in advance. So, but that we'll discuss in advanced class. Let's not go to that now. Okay? I'm not going to take any advanced topic in this class. We'll discuss it in one extra class of advance, Saturday something. Okay? Don't worry. Now we are moving ahead with our today's topic, that is azeotrope. That is azeotrope. While I was explaining you the previous topic, many of you asked me, sir, what will happen, sir, if the vapor pressures are very close? Sir, what will happen if their boiling points are very close? Sir, what will happen if this is that, if this is that? So to answer to your problem is, students, azeotropic mixture. Answer to your problem is azeotropic mixture. Now, what is an azeotropic mixture? So here, in this case, if this was 101, this was 1, this is 100, this is 101, then how much is the difference in their volatility? Very less. Very less. Then the rate at which B go into vapor phase and the rate at which A go into the vapor phase is almost same, right? So if 1 mole of B goes into vapor phase, 1 mole of A will also go. What does it mean? What does it mean? If both A and B go into vapor phase with equal amounts or equal probability, then what will happen to the vapor phase composition? What will happen to the vapor phase composition? Who will be more? Who will be less? It will remain same. That's what is the more important part. It will remain same. If it is 0.5 here, 0.5 here, it will also become 0.5. Right? Then you condense it again. 0.5, 0.5. Again evaporate. Again you will get 0.5, 0.5. Again you condense. 0.5, 0.5. Again evaporate. 0.5, 0.5. What will happen? What will happen in the conclusion? What will happen in the conclusion? Anyone? What is the conclusion? We will not be able to separate those two components by fractional distillation. Why? Because the composition of liquid phase and vapor phase will become same, right? Vapor phase and liquid phase composition will become same. So such components cannot be separated by fractional distillation, right? Those mixtures where two components cannot be separated by fractional distillation are called azeotropic mixture. Are called azeotropic mixture. ठीक है? I hope it is clear, right? We'll come to that, KV. Now see, the definition is pretty clear. Binary mixture having same composition. Now you can understand the definition. Binary mixture having same composition in liquid and vapor phase, right? Liquid and vapor phase, and they boil at a constant temperature. Their temperature will not change. Can anybody understand what is the meaning here? So see here, when you get this vapor phase into liquid phase, it has more amount of B, correct? Let me ask you a question here. Let us say this liquid was boiling at a temperature T1, correct? Initial liquid phase 1. When I condensed it and made liquid 2, it was boiling at a temperature T2, right? Right? It was boiling at temperature T2. Can anybody tell me in this particular case, not in the azeotropic, in this particular case, if this is boiling at T1, this is boiling at T2, what is the relationship between T1 and T2? T1 is greater than T2, T2 is less, or T1 is less than T2. What is correct? Prashant, check again, beta. If you are smart, you can answer this very easily. Even if you are not smart, then also you can answer. I am asking Ankita here, if this liquid phase is boiling at a temperature T1, the second liquid phase is boiling at a temperature T2, what is the relationship between T1 and T2? Siddharth, I have explained, beta. If the first liquid phase is boiling at a temperature T1, second liquid phase is boiling at a temperature T2, what is the relationship between T1 and T2? So many of you are saying equal. Guys, it will not be equal in this case. In this case, it will not be equal. Why it will not be equal? Think. Here, B and A, that means less volatile and more volatile components, are present in equal amounts. So it is boiling at T1. In this mixture, more volatile component is present in more amount, right? More volatile component is present in more amount. So it will boil at less temperature or more temperature? Less temperature. I'll give you a very good example. Let us say you take a petrol. Add 5 ml petrol, add 5 ml water to it. Let us say it was boiling at 5 ml petrol, 5 ml water was boiling at 90 degrees Celsius. Okay. Now what I did was, I took 8 ml petrol, 2 ml water. 8 ml petrol, 2 ml water. Now it will boil at 90 degrees Celsius or greater than 90 degrees Celsius. 8 ml, 5 ml petrol, 5 ml water boils at 90 degrees Celsius, right? 8 ml petrol, 2 ml water. It will boil at more than 90 or less than 90? Less than 90. Because it is containing more amount of petrol whose boiling point is less. Is it clear? So here also it is containing B, more amount whose boiling point is less. So here, as you keep on going, this is boiling at T1, this will boil at T2, next liquid phase will boil at T3, temperature will keep on decreasing. Boiling temperature will keep on decreasing. But what about here? What about here in this mixture, where if this is 0.5, 0.5, this is also 0.5, 0.5. When you condense it, again you get 0.5, 0.5. So if this is boiling at T1 temperature, in this case, since the composition is same, this will also boil at T1 temperature. That means boiling point of the liquid solution will not change, right? It will not change. अरे T2 is less than Shreya, T2 is less than T1. ठीक है? So let me explain the definition again. It is a mixture having same composition of liquid phase and vapor phase, and the mixture will boil at a constant temperature. Such a mixture is called azeotropic mixture. How can these liquids be separated? We need to use some other techniques. We cannot use fractional distillation, right? Right? I hope it is clear. Now, important point, it boils at a constant temperature. Its composition is fixed. Separation of components by fractional distillation is not possible. It behaves as a pure liquid. Okay? Now, see here, XA, YA, both should be equal. Amount, mole fraction of A in liquid phase and vapor phase should be same. I hope the definition of azeotropic mixture is clear to you guys. I'm not taking its temperature versus composition graph. That I will discuss in some advanced class. Not relevant for your mains and NEET and boards. Yes, any doubts, anyone? I'm going to move ahead to the types of azeotropic mixture. If you have any doubts in this, please ask. Yes, guys, 5-second ka window hai. If you have any doubt in this, you can ask. I think I've taken approximately more than half an hour to explain this much. Chalo. All right, thank you all. Let's move ahead with the next thing, that is types of azeotrope. Now see, I have spent about half an hour in explaining the previous topic. Arey Pritesh, beta, itna easy example de diya, still you are asking that, huh? Pritesh, you take 5 ml water and 5 ml petrol. ठीक है? It boils at, let us say, 90 degrees Celsius. Pritesh will answer me instantly. If you don't answer, I'll move ahead. ठीक है? 5 ml petrol, 5 ml water, boils at 90 degrees Celsius. Now, who has more boiling point? Water has more boiling point than petrol. Correct? So, 5 ml water, 5 ml petrol, 90 degrees Celsius. If I take 8 ml petrol, 2 ml water, then it will boil at greater than 90 or less than 90? Pritesh, it will boil at greater than 90 or less than 90? Less than 90. Understood? So here also see same na. B is more volatile. What does it mean? B is more volatile means what? Its boiling point is less. Boiling point is less. TB is less than TA. So here, if it is boiling at T1, both are present in equal amounts. Here B is present in more amount, whose boiling point is less. The component present in more amount is the one whose boiling point is less. So mixture ka boiling point will increase or decrease? If the component present is more in amount is the one whose boiling point is less, then mixture boiling point will increase or decrease? Arey Dhanush, I'm explaining that only, beta. Dhanush, tell me one thing, beta. You're not using brain even 5%. 5 ml water. 5 ml water. Now this is surprising. I was explaining it for Pritesh. Now Dhanush has a doubt in it. Dhanush did not get guts to ask himself. Dhanush, you tell me why it should not be less than 90. Can you tell me why it should not be less than 90? Why it should be more than 90? Can you explain? Yes, Dhanush, tell me why it should not be less than 90. This is common sense, Dhanush. यार क्या बात कर रहे हो? Water has boiling point of 100. Petrol, let us say, has 60 degrees Celsius boiling point. If you are boiling 5 ml water, 5 ml petrol, let's say it is boiling at 90. If you increase the amount of petrol to 8 ml and water to 2 ml, what have you increased more in amount? The component whose boiling point is less. So mixture ka boiling point, how can it increase? The component present in mixture is more, is that component which is present in more amount, which is having less boiling point. So obviously mixture ka boiling point will come down, na? If you don't understand it, try to practice it at home. You'll understand. Put a thermometer and try to measure what temperature it starts boiling. Don't do it, you'll get burns. Petrol, don't heat petrol. Okay? Is that clear now, Dhanush? My definition of azeotropic mixture is if I have two components. Dhanush, I don't understand. Okay, beta. If I explain something for half an hour, then again I repeat it for you and you say, okay. This is really weird and really very bad from every end. If you are not still not understand, you still say, sir, I did not understand. I'll explain again. You should write. No, why are you becoming lazy and writing only 2 alphabets? Okay, better you write K. That is even better, right? We speak for so many hours. It's like I spent my 45 minutes of class on explaining this, and if after that you write okay, what should I feel? Fine. So now, Sakshi, if I explain this, how I would explain is, it's a mixture having two components, right? When I started heating them, the amount of those two components in the liquid phase and vapor phase was remaining same. So I cannot say vapor phase means something will present in more amount. So composition here and here will remain same. I cannot say that this component is present in more amount in the vapor phase because both have equal volatility, right? So in such case, I cannot separate them by fractional distillation. So the idea of fractional distillation is important. You can separate it only when some component goes into vapor phase more than other component, right? Then only you can say that. If that does not happen, then you cannot separate them. So the composition of liquid phase should become equal to composition of vapor phase. This is what I understand. I started heating alcohol and water. I observed 2 mole and 1 mole was in liquid phase. In vapor phase also it is same. That means both are going with equal speed in the vapor phase. So vapor phase will never have one component. It will always have two components. If you repeat it 100 times also, it will always have two components. Okay? Yes. So this is your definition of azeotropic mixture. Yes, Ashwat. This is the definition of azeotropic mixture. I hope it is clear. Now let us come to types of azeotropic mixture. So students, I told you, as you keep repeating this process of fractional distillation, the boiling point of the mixture keeps on decreasing. It keeps on decreasing. But that is for the ideal solution. For non-ideal solution, you know, there are two types of cases possible. One is positive deviation, one is negative deviation. So negative deviation is the one in which pressure of the solution comes out to be less than the pressure of the solution if it was following ideal Raoult's law, right? So we have remembered the graph also, right? The graph for negative deviation was like this. This is Raoult's law ideal solution graph. In negative deviation, P observed is less than P ideal. This is P ideal. This is P observed, right? This is what I'm trying to say. In negative deviation, P observed is less than P ideal. Correct? P observed is less than P ideal. Yes, Sakshi. P observed is less than P ideal. If vapor pressure of solution is less, what happens to its boiling point? What happens to its boiling point? Its boiling point will be more. है ना? Vapor pressure is I guess you are able to hear me again, guys. Is it audible now? Video won't be possible now because there's a power failure. I think it is audible now. All right. So let me complete what I was trying to say here. So guys, let me repeat what I said. I said here that in negative deviation, this is your P ideal from the graph. This is pure P observed. So vapor pressure of the solution comes out to be less than the ideal vapor pressure, right?
Hello, sir.
Yes, Ashutosh sir.
Actually, screen is not visible.
I don't know why screen is not visible. Let me see. Just a minute. Now it is visible, right?
Yeah, now it's fine. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes. So it took some time for the screen to load, right? Yes. You can see it now better. So what I was explaining, let me repeat. So P observed to be less than P ideal, right? This is your ideal, P ideal. And we saw the graph name, observed pressure was less than P ideal. So if the vapor pressure is less, sound is not clear, is it? Right. So we observed that the vapor pressure of the solution was less than vapor pressure of ideal solution. So I can say my temperature or boiling point will be more than if it was an ideal solution. Correct? Therefore, if the boiling point increases, therefore I think now it is visible, Dhanush. There is some internet ka issue. Is it audible now, guys? Its screen is visible. I know that. Is it audible? थोड़ा voice will break. It lags also. ठीक है, guys. Now it not happen. Sorry. Power is back. Just give me a minute. I'll summarize this. Give me a minute. Give me a minute. Yes, guys, I think we are back. I hope now it is audible as well as visible. Right. Thank you all for waiting patiently. Uh, India, mein this kind of things is bound to happen. Chalo. Let me summarize what I just said now so that I can move ahead. So I said in a graph we learned that there is an ideal solution pressure, and in the negative deviation P observed was less than P ideal, correct? So that's what I have written here. If the observed vapor pressure is less than ideal vapor pressure, we know if some boiling point is less, then it can form vapor easily and vapor pressure will be more. So if the observed vapor pressure is less, it is forming less vapors. Why it is forming less vapors? Because its boiling point is more. If some liquid has more boiling point, it is difficult to vaporize the liquid, then it will form less vapors. So therefore, boiling point of the solution will be more, right? So such negative deviation from Rod's law will show maximum boiling azeotrope. What does it mean? It means azeotrope mixture will boil at higher temperature than A and B. That means if A's boiling point is 100, B's boiling point is 90, then azeotropic mixture will boil at 120. That means the boiling point of the azeotropic mixture will be greater than boiling point of A and greater than boiling point of B. And the reverse of that is minimum boiling azeotrope. That means boiling point of azeotrope mixture will be less than boiling point of A and boiling point of B, right? Why? Again, same reason. Observed pressure here is greater than ideal from the graph. You know the graph. This was ideal graph. Vapor pressure of solution was greater than ideal. So vapor pressure is more. That means boiling point will be less, right? Therefore, it is called minimum boiling azeotrope. Now, azeotrope is always formed at a particular composition. So, for example, 95% ethanol and water we have seen, it forms a positive deviation example. So, example of positive deviation and negative deviation is already known to you. The solution showing positive deviation will have minimum boiling azeotrope. The solution showing negative deviation will have maximum boiling azeotrope, correct? At 95% ethanol and 5% water, this mixture will boil at a temperature of this, right? Which is less than the boiling point of water. Boiling point of water is 373 Kelvin, whereas this is approximately ethanol is 353 Kelvin. So now you can see the mixture is azeotropic mixture is boiling at less than boiling point of water and less than boiling point of ethanol, right? I hope these two definitions are clear to you. How to remember example? Positive ones ke example will come in minimum boiling. Negative deviation examples will come in maximum boiling, right? I hope it is clear, right? Yes, any doubts from this, guys? If you have any doubts, you can ask. I'll give you a window of 5 seconds, 10 seconds, let us say, since we had a technical failure. So yes, 10 seconds. Are if you don't have it, no, if you don't have doubts, at least write no doubt. At least write no doubts. Boiling point of nitric acid, I need to check, but I don't remember. I need to check that. Chalo, let's move ahead then. Chandan, I need to check that. Yes. So now our next topic is, guys, colligative properties. We are starting with this. Let me tell you the importance of this topic. I am 99% sure you'll get a question of this in JEE Mains. Any of these colligative property. I am 80% sure you'll get a question of this in JEE Advanced, right? I am 85% sure in solution, you'll get a question from this in NEET. Now see my percentage distributions. And boards may, I am 100% sure you'll get one 3-mark ka numerical in this, right? So now is this an important topic? Now itself says yes, it's an important topic. Okay. Now let me say what is colligative properties to you. Let me explain what is the colligative property to you. Right, colligative property will introduce every colligative property. What are the colligative properties we are going to study? Relative lowering of vapor pressure, first colligative property. Elevation in boiling point, depression in freezing point. There is one more called osmotic pressure. We'll learn that also. These 4 colligative properties, if you understand, it's more than enough in this chapter. Today we'll learn about the first colligative property. What is that? Please understand the definition carefully. It is very, very important. So the definition of colligative properties is, first of all, colligative properties of what? Kiska colligative property we are finding? We are finding the colligative properties of what? Students, teachers, whose colligative properties are we talking about? Solutions. Exactly. We are talking about the colligative property of the solutions. And let me tell you, 90% of the solutions you will study here will be non-ideal solution. Most of the times, right? Most of the times it will be 90% of this will be non-ideal solutions. Okay. Now, colligative properties. What are these properties? So the properties of solution which depend upon number of particles of solute. That means 5 particles of solute are there, 10 particles of solute are there, 20 particles of solute are there. How many particles of solute are there? If your some property depends upon that, then you say it is a colligative property. It should not depend upon nature of solute. Nature of solute means whether it is polar, non-polar, it is having high boiling point, low boiling point. So the colligative property which depend, Shashwat, I'm explaining that only. Colligative property is the properties, right? The other word is, I think, I exactly don't remember. Most likely it is constitutive. Okay? The other counterpart of this. So the properties which depends upon number of particles of solute are called colligative properties, and they do not depend upon identity or nature of the solute. That is very important. Whether your solute is polar, non-polar, it does not depend upon that, right? It only depend upon number of particles of solute, right? Colligative in general means collective in general, right? So yes, so we are starting with the first colligative property today, that is relative lowering of vapor pressure. So what is relative lowering of vapor pressure? So see here, this is a very good picture which will explain you almost everything about it. So here we have taken a solvent. These are solvent molecules, the blue ones. These are solvent molecules. So solvent molecules goes into the vapor phase. When they go into the vapor phase, they exert pressure on the walls of the container, also on the surface of the liquid, and that pressure is known as what? Vapor pressure. Correct? What we have assumed, the vapor pressure of our solvent is P01. Correct? So our solvent has a vapor pressure of P01. Now what I did to this solution is I added a non-volatile solute. What is a non-volatile solute? What do we mean by non-volatile solute? What do we mean by non-volatile solute? Yes, guys, what do we mean by non-volatile solute? Non-volatile solute means which will not form vapors. Which will not form vapors, right? It cannot form vapors, right? It is not at all having tendency to form vapor. Easily, nahi, it will not form vapors only, right? It will not form at all a vapor. Okay? So what I did to this solution is I added some non-volatile solute to this solution. What is that solute doing? All of you please see this. What is that solute doing? So this is your green is your solute. So that solute has come and sat on the surface of the liquid. Correct? So that's solute has come and sat on the surface of the liquid. Earlier, how many particles could go out? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 particles were going out. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Only 5 can go out. Why? Because some surface of the liquid some surface of the liquid or some particles of the liquid are not able to come out because the surface is blocked by solute particles which will not form vapors. Now the number of particles of solvent which will come outside into vapor phase will be less, because from this area, from this green area, no particles can go into the vapor phase. Neither they will themselves go because they are non-volatile, nor they will let the solvent molecules below them go into the vapor phase. ना ही खुद जाएंगे, ना ही solvent को जाने देंगे. Nor they will themselves go, nor they will allow the second layer of solvent molecules to go into vapor phase. So effectively, the number of solvent in vapor phase decreases. It decreases. So what will happen to the vapor pressure? Vapor pressure will increase or decrease? Vapor pressure will increase or decrease? What will happen to vapor pressure? Vapor pressure will decrease. So 10 molecules here will exert more pressure than 4 molecules here. Correct? So vapor pressure will decrease. Right? Number of moles of solvent in vapor phase decreases. Therefore, vapor pressure decreases. Now let me assume the pressure here is P1. Let me assume the pressure here in this solution now, the pressure of this vapor is now P1. So obviously now P1 will become less than P01. That means pure solvent molecules have more vapor pressure than solution. Okay? Now recall your Raoult's law. In Raoult's law, both the liquid A and B were volatile. Here, your solvent is volatile, but solute is non-volatile. Therefore, the vapor pressure is decreased. Is it clear? I hope this point is clear, that why the vapor pressure of solution is less than the vapor pressure of solvent. Is this point clear, everyone? Shall I move ahead with the derivation? Right. So this is very important part. This is extremely very important, right? If you understand that, that's 50% job done. Now let me go to the next thing. I have taken a derivation here. Before I go to the derivation, let me ask a fundamental question here. My fundamental question here is, this P1 is the vapor pressure of solution. Let us write PS also. This vapor pressure of solution is due to which particles? Solute or solvent? This is due to which particles? Solute or solvent? Aha, Chandan. Solute, Chandan. It is due to solvent. It is due to solvent, because only solvent is coming outside to form vapors. Solute is not even coming outside to form vapors. So this vapor pressure is due to, pressure is due to solvent. This is due to solvent. So can I say by Raoult's law, if I apply Raoult's law to the P1 will depend upon mole fraction of what? Solvent, X1. P1 will depend upon the mole fraction of solvent. Gauri, beta, Gauri, we are asking the pressure is due to what? Who is exerting this pressure, Gauri? The pressure of solution is exerted by whom? Solute? No, solute is not exerting any pressure. It is only solvent molecules which is exerting pressure. So how can you say solute is exerting the pressure? Solute is non-volatile. So solution of pressure of solution is due to solvent. Solute is not forming any vapor, right? So according to Raoult's law, can I write pressure of solution is proportional to mole fraction of solvent? Why I'm taking solvent? Because solvent is forming vapor. More is the solvent molecules, more will be the vapor pressure, right? I hope it is clear. If you remove proportionality sign, guys, if you remove proportionality sign, what are you going to get? Can anybody tell me? If you remove proportionality sign, you'll get what? What should I write here? x1 into Kushal, very good. Kushal, very good, beta. P naught 1. Kushal, this is Raoult's law, not Henry's law, Kushal. This is P naught 1. P naught 1 is the vapor pressure of pure solvent. Okay? That is what we have done over here. See carefully. P1 directly we have done over here. P1 will be equal to x1 into P naught 1. Right? P1 is equals to x1 into P naught 1. Is this statement clear to everyone? Here it is written also. P1 is vapor pressure of solution. P naught 1 is vapor pressure of solvent. Okay? P naught 1 is vapor pressure of solvent. Right. Let's go ahead then. So what I can do over here now is, yes. So what I will do solve it in a better way. Let me do the derivation for you. It will become easier for you. So let me derive it for you in an easier way. So all of you please pay attention. So let me write P1 here is equal to x1 into P naught 1. This is what we have done so far. Correct? So what you can say here is P1, I have this habit of writing i.e. P1 by P naught 1 is equal to x1. Now do one thing, subtract both sides from 1. You're not subtracting 1 on both sides. Subtract both sides from 1. So what you'll get, 1 minus x1, I'll write in case you don't understand. Subtract both sides from 1. So this is subtracted from 1. So written 1 minus x1. If you subtract this from 1, it will be 1 minus P1 by P naught 1. Okay? If you simplify this further, it will become P naught 1 minus P1 by P naught 1. Take LCM. 1 minus x1. What is 1 minus x1? Arey haan mere bhai. Pranav, okay. What is 1 minus x1? x2. That means mole fraction of solute. This is your expression of relative lowering of vapor pressure. This is your initial vapor pressure. This is your initial minus final. Initial minus final gives you a different. If your initial minus final gives you a difference. That means decrease in vapor pressure. Divided by initial gives you a relative decrease in vapor pressure. So let me write it over here. What all this tells you? This tells you that here, let me write P naught 1 is vapor pressure of solvent. P1 here is vapor pressure of solution. P naught 1 minus P1 is lowering of vapor pressure of solvent. Okay? And what is P naught 1 minus P1 by P naught 1? This is relative lowering of vapor pressure. The moment you divide it by P naught 1, it becomes relative to P naught 1. Okay? This is relative lowering of vapor pressure. This is what has been used here as the formula. Okay? Delta P1 is, and in theory you will find this value to be written as, or this value to be written as delta P1. Okay? I hope it is clear. Now let me further expand this. So see here, you have got P naught 1 minus P1 by P naught 1 is equals to x2. What is mole fraction of X solute? Number of moles of solute divided by number of moles of solute plus number of moles of solvent. If I take dilute solution, what does dilute solution mean? Solvent amount is very, very high in comparison to solute. That means number of moles of solvent is very, 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 very high in comparison to number of moles of solute. So your N1 plus N2 will become approximately equal to N1. Further simplify this, P naught 1 minus P1 by P naught 1 is equals to N2 by N1. Now rewrite the formula of number of moles. Given weight of solute by molar mass of solute divided by given weight of solvent by molar mass of solvent. Right? So this is your final formula but this is only for dilute solution, guys. This is only for dilute solution. If the solution is not said to be dilute, you cannot take this approximation. But I'll tell you a direct shortcut formula. For concentrated solution, directly apply this formula. P0 minus P01 minus P1 divided by P01 की जगह you take P1. Then apply the same formula for concentrated solution. Your formula will work. No problem. Right? Arey, why do we need more? Arey, why it will not depend upon, man? Vapor pressure of solution is not dependent upon mole fraction of solute. See here. Decrease in vapor pressure is dependent upon mole fraction of solute. Decrease. How much? If it is here, whether it will come here or it will further decrease, that depends upon how much solute non-volatile you are adding. Because vapor pressure is decreasing due to non-volatile solute. If you add more solute, the vapor pressure will decrease more. If you add less non-volatile solute, vapor pressure will decrease less. So delta depend upon your how much you add. Okay? I hope KV Chetan it is clear. Right. So why it is a colligative property? See here. So this whole term, see carefully, this is a very good question. This whole term, relative lowering of vapor pressure, is directly proportional to number of moles of solute. So since it is proportional to N2, therefore it is a colligative property, right? It is equal to N2, but P01 minus P1 is not colligative property. Why? Because P01 minus P1 is equals to X2 into P01. It is not equal to X2. There is some other factor also. Therefore, P01 minus P1 by P01 is colligative property, relative lowering of vapor pressure. But P01 minus P1, lowering of vapor pressure, is not colligative property. This has been asked previously in exams. Okay? I hope this is clear. We'll do one question on this and finish it off. Guys, direct question. At least let's end the class with one question kam se kam. We'll feel good if you solve one question and go. The question is in front of you. I'll read out the question for you. We'll send you the options also. Vapor pressure of water is given. So your solvent is water. So Ganesh beta, what have you not understand? Ganesh, for being a colligative property, it should be equal to number of moles of solute, number of particles of solute. So P01 minus P1 by P01 is equal to number of moles of solute. So it is a colligative property. But P01 minus P1 is not equal to number of moles of solute. It has some other factor also, proportionality constant. Right? P01 does not depend upon only solute. P01 is the pressure of solvent. Right? So P01 minus P1 is equals to X2 into P01. So P01 minus P1 depends upon P01. P01 depends upon what? Solvent. Then in that case, your colligative, how it is a colligative property? It depends upon solvent. Right? All right. I scrolled it back. Concentration one formula. Concentration one formula. I didn't get it. Is it clear now, Ganesh? What is the second part not clear, Pritesh beta? I'll go to that, Ankita. I hope you have taken the screenshot, Aisha. Pritesh, for concentration, I did not get your points. Which concentration are you talking about? अरे प्रीतेश बेटा क्या है यार तुम लोग थोड़ा भी दिमाग यूज नहीं करते हो. Teacher will seriously go frustrated if you behave like this. P0 minus P1 by P01 is equals to X2. So you can see here, this whole value depends only on number of moles of solute. Correct? So it is a colligative property. But the moment you write P01 minus P1 is equals to N2 into P01. Now, this thing, apart from depending upon solute, depend upon P01 also. P01 is what? Vapor pressure of solvent. So this is depending upon vapor pressure of solvent. It is depending upon solvent. Then how it is a colligative property? Colligative property depend on only particles of solute. Concentrated solution formula is this. For concentrated solution, you can directly use this formula. I'll derive this formula tomorrow if you want. I can derive this formula also for concentrated solution. Guys, seriously, you need to push your brain. If you don't push your brain, it will not give you answers. Yes, so this is the question, students. You can start putting the formula and finding the answer. There has been a lot of here and there for the slides, so question might not be visible for you. So I'm keeping the question for another 40-50 seconds. Post that, we will discuss this. Tomorrow we'll discuss another colligative property. In fact, 2 colligative properties tomorrow. Ravi Kiran, no. You go by normal formula. Ravi Kiran, you can see here it is dilute solution, beta. 20 gram, 100 gram. Go by dilute. Right, so we are ending this, guys. Just check your calculations. Yes, Vinay Kumar, it is correct. Guys, we are ending this. So please vote fast if you have not voted so now till now. Right. So on a count of 3, 2, 1. Now we are ending this now. This is a direct formula substitution problem. Yes. So we'll end this poll now. Most of you have voted for B, and B is the correct answer also. This is quite easy question. I'll solve it for others, those who have answered wrong. So see here, the formula is P01 minus P1 by P01 is equals to N2 by N1. I'm taking the approximation. That is W2 by M2 into M1 by W1. M1 by W1. This is solute. 2 is solute. 1 is solvent. So vapor pressure of water is given 17.54 minus. Vapor pressure is lowered by. Okay. Now he's giving you lowered by. Lowered by means if it was 5 now, it became 2. So lowered by how much? 3. That means the value of P0 minus P1 is given. So P0 minus P1, this whole value is 0.3. Difference is given. Correct? So this is 0.3 by initial is 17.54 is equal to weight of solute is 20 gram. Molar mass of solute we have to find. Molar mass of solvent. Water is a solvent. So molar mass of water is 18. Weight of solvent is 100 gram. So you can simply simplify this. You'll get your answer to be equal to 210. All right, that's all for today, students. We had a late of 5 minutes. So tomorrow we'll solve more problems and discuss 2 more colligative properties. Please do not miss tomorrow's class. Those who want to wait for quiz can stay back. Others can leave. I'll do the advanced class tomorrow because it's already late for some of you. I'll do the advanced. I have questions, but it will be late. So the students will do the advanced class tomorrow. Yeah, now you can understand why vapors were not coming out. Because there was solute particles present in it and solute was non-volatile. So solute was stopping your solvent particles to come out, right? Shreyas, if your solute amount is present in very less amount, 100 gram solute, right? And 20 gram, 100 gram water, 20 gram solute. It's a dilute solution, 1/5. Right, this is your first one. I hope there will be a lot of you who will be fascinated about computers. So I'm not going to give you the options here. Option makes it very obvious. I'm counting till 10. Many of you would have Googled also. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So here we are ending it. So yes, remote swipe Python. I have got some weird answers by Sanat and Gautam. Right. So guys, it is, Ankita has Googled it. Guys, it is Heisenberg. It's Heisenberg. You can check why I kept it, because you have heard about Heisenberg, right? Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. All of you have learned about him. Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, right? I know, Ankita, people can't answer this without Googling it. I know this very well. So I'll raise the, now next one is pretty interesting. I'll raise the poll for the next one so that you can immediately start voting. So Heisenberg, by the way, to give you more information about it, Heisenberg was also involved in World War II. Heisenberg had made an atomic bomb before Einstein, but he did not let Hitler know that he has made it. Otherwise, world would have been devastated. Heisenberg was very good person in that. Heisenberg was very young by the time World War II was there, 30s most likely. So this is Heisenberg. Second one. The movie which holds the Guinness Book of World Record for the largest poster of all time. Identify the movie. It is 50,000 feet poster. 1, 2. अच्छा options ही नहीं है, छोड़ दो. Options ही नहीं है. There is no point of voting. You have to write. Right. We are done. We are done. Some people have already Googled it. I know. It's Bahubali actually. Sonali, it was if I give those clues, it will become most obvious. I don't want to give that options. If I give, let's say if I give you 4 options, even if it is weirdest of everything, you'll choose Bahubali. If I give 3 Hollywood movies, 1 Bahubali, you'll choose Bahubali. If I give 2 Bollywood, 1 Bahubali, you'll choose Bahubali. Because all of us like that movie. That's the reason. So I don't give options in this. So this is the world record which they hold, right? 50,000 feet poster. I was about to ask some very tricky question today, but then I thought, theek hai. Sanat says he didn't Google. Okay, I can trust you, Sanat. But most of you will Google this. So we'll continue the advanced class today, tomorrow. I had some problems, but we are already running late. So we'll do it tomorrow, no problem. So we'll do the advanced class tomorrow. अरे साइंस के भी पूछेंगे. अरे पिछला क्वेश्चन साइंस का ही था ना अभिषेक. Heisenberg was science only. Heisenberg uncertainty as well. All right, that's all for today, students. You can leave. Thank you for staying back and attending the class. Yes, thank you, Ankita. Without history in it. History is always fascinating. You should know it. I'll try that, Pratiksha, someday. Because one reason I don't try it, because I forgot all the volumes. I had read it when I was in school. So I have forgotten most of it. I need to recall. Anyways, I'll ask someday. Thank you, Ganesh. Is Dhanush here? Dhanush here or Dhanush left? Why, Vijay? Dhanush has left. Vijay, why so? Sir, I can't solve maths part fast in questions. How can I prove? Rohit, beta, you can call me, beta. Rohit, if you call me, I can help you out. And when you should call me around 8 a.m. tomorrow. Better time. Yes, anybody meanwhile has any doubts, you can ask. We are done for the class today. Others can leave. Beta, sorry, Rohit, a chatmate is difficult to help you out. I can only give you suggestions over phone.